Welcome to the Skippy and Fanty shows at the movies.
Is this the prequel to Weimer the Frost Maiden?
I don't even know what that means, Paul.
Wow, Naya Katona.
What?
Uncultured.
Did you just speak Latin to me?
No, I went Russian.
Russian.
I went Russian on you, baby.
What do you mean? What? Okay, Paul. Whatever. I'm Shaun.
I'm obviously Paul.
And I'm Trish.
And on today's show, we'll discuss 1964's holiday classic, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. This wondrous film was written by Romeo Muller, Robert May, and Johnny Marks, directed by Larry Romer, and starred Billy May Richards, Burl Ives, Larry D. Mann, and many more. This is, of course, the Rankin Bass production, the claymation, stop-motion animation, beautiful, nearly perfect holiday-themed film.
Before we go into further on this film, a friendly reminder, we want to hear from you. Yes, you. Share your comments with us about this and past episodes, about Weimer the Frost Maiden at skippyandfanty.com/listener suggestions. We want to put together a listener mailbag episode with your thoughts, questions, topic suggestions, reasons why Shaun is awesome, reasons why Trish is awesome, and more. So get your thoughts into us.
Yeah, and if you don't, Paul will cry.
Yeah, and you don't want to see me cry.
And I will collect his tears from my evil magic spells.
Oh my goodness.
They would make a potent alchemical blend for sure.
They would indeed. Well, the task of summarizing this movie now comes to somebody who is a human being.
I will fall on this antler.
Wow. Okay. All right. So Trish, what is this movie about? Go on.
This movie is about the evils of societal pressures for conformity, and about Santa and elves and reindeer, and how if you actually manage to get your head loose of wanting everyone to be exactly alike and allow people's differences to shine, then everyone can be happy.
Is that true? Is that what's happening?
That is the message of this film.
If you want a plot summary, I can do that too.
Well, it does turn out that this movie is basically the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer song turned into a story with added quirkiness, to say the least.
To say the least.
Yeah, so I should mention that this is one of like my 5 holiday movies that I watch every year.
Every year?
Every year. This Home Alone, A Christmas Story. I'll be honest, I do watch the Santa Claus.
I'm not going to judge you.
We've done it for Torture Cinema, and I still love that movie.
Tim Allen makes an engaging Santa, and it brings some interesting ideas to the canon. I'm not going to shame your movie watching, Shaun.
Yeah,
that's only 4 though.
I know. I was trying to think about what the 5th one would be, and I'm immediately drawing a blank because it's not Die Hard. Because
we don't have to hold to a rigid 5.
Yeah,
you're right.
If you just have 4 favorite holiday movies, that's great.
Yeah, well, this is one of them.
What are your favorite holiday movies, Trish?
Gosh, I haven't really thought out a list. This is definitely one of them, though. I mean, I used to watch this faithfully every year, for many years. It's been quite a while since I've seen it with my whole attention, though. Usually it would be, something I would have on while something else was happening. After I was graduated from high school or college or something, I would not just sit down and watch it. I would be doing other stuff at the same time. So let's see. There's this. There's A Wonderful Life. I know there are some people who claim that Miracle is on 34th Street is a better film, and maybe, but It's a Wonderful Life is the thing that I saw every year for a long time. A Christmas Story is doesn't say a lot about the virtues of the season, but
No.
it's definitely a classic.
But remember, it says fragile. It's French.
Italian. Let's see, those pop up. There are a lot of other specials that I want. Oh, Charlie Brown Christmas, of course.
Oh, okay.
You gotta say that one.
You gotta say that one. That's a good one.
Yeah, those are probably the high marks. I'm probably missing something, but those are...
I did put you on the spot. I apologize.
I mean, we both did. It's all our fault. Paul, now it's on to you.
Well, the major movie that we have not mentioned to this point, you might not think of as a holiday movie, but since it culminates on New Year's Eve, is Don't Laugh When Harry Met Sally. He's gonna laugh.
No. I'm refraining from reenacting the scene at the moment.
That's not even the scene I think of when I think of the holidays. I know which scene you're talking. I think about this. I think about the scene where he runs to the party and tells Sally just how much he loves her, and it warms my heart.
Aww. I don't really think of that as a holiday movie, but I guess it is.
It
never
ends
thought
on
of
New
it
Year's
as one,
Eve,
but-
for crying. And New Year's Eve comes up again and again throughout the movie. It is totally a holiday movie.
Okay,
As much
it's
as
a
Die
New
Hard
Year's
is.
Eve movie, though, not a
Right,
Christmas movie as such.
Right, no,
or-
but I was thinking
but
holiday.
I guess we're not
setting.
sticking to Christmas
But-
specifically.
Yeah.
But my definitive Christmas movies are Charlie Brown Christmas and, as mentioned before, Miracle on 34th Street, because every good New Yorker is warned by the idea of Santa Claus being proved right by the U.S. Postal Service of New York City that he is Santa Claus. It's just science and facts.
That's amazing. Well, let's talk about this movie, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, which spawned a whole bunch of other films with a similar style, one of which we have actually watched for Torture Cinema before, which is Christmas in July.
Yeah. Oh yes,
That was so terrible.
I was on that episode. That was
That was
good.
so very terrible.
Yeah, that
Now,
was
I
not
do kind of like Rudolph's Shiny New Year. It's not as good as this one, but it has some good songs in it, and it has the Heat Meister and the Cold Miser. So there are some fun things about that one, but the summer special was just awful.
It is torture.
This
Truly
one's
one of
kind
the worst torture cinemas that I have seen.
It's pretty bad. This is definitely one of the classics. The songs in this, the opening sequence after Burr Alive's The Snowman tells us, the story we're going to listen to has like all of the main themes, and they're all, the second they came on, I was like, oh, it's the song. I know that song. Like,
You know that song.
Yep.
it's very memorable, and I think that's part of why, there's dozens and dozens of holiday themed, mostly Christmas movies during the holidays, but it is so rare for a film to obtain repeatable status, let alone legendary status. And you'd have to argue, whatever your personal thoughts of this film are, this is one of the legendary films of this genre. I mean, this film has been, if I recall, been running multiple times every holiday season in December, possibly even beyond that, for the better part of 50 plus years now.
Has there ever been a year it hasn't been broadcast somewhere in the United States during
I don't
Christmas?
think so.
I doubt it.
That would make it almost 60 years.
Yeah, I think for a couple of decades, it would just air once per year. And if you missed it, that was it for that year. Maybe 3 decades or so. But I think around the 90s or so, they started showing it several times during the season.
And it was, I guess, part of, there were the 25 Days of Christmas series that...
25 days of Rankin Bass.
right. Rankin Bass Christmas, because they would play a bunch of the films, presumably skipping the ones that weren't very good. So
and
this,
there are some of those.
I need you to stop now. I am busy, sir. I have to now edit this out because you're being an asshole. It's Christmas. Stop. Go away. Apologies, everybody.
Christmas with the kiddies.
The cat's over here scratching the wall trying to get my attention. And I'm here trying to talk about how much I like Rankin Bass Christmas. So give me a freaking break, bro. Okay. In any case, yeah, so this film, I mean, I think, didn't in 2014 they had like U.S. postal stamps for this made?
Did they?
I'm sure they've had postal stamps. I don't know what year it was.
Like, how many films can you say have had a postage stamp? It's not many.
Not many.
Has this been, like, immortalized in the Library of Congress yet? Because if not, it should be. I don't know. I don't. It's just so perfect. It's such a perfect movie.
Right. Well, it, of course, spawned a lot of sequels and things, some of which, as we said, were okay, and some of which were terrible. Mm-hmm. Was it the first big Rankin Bass claymation thing, stop action, or?
That's a good question.
I don't recall if it's, like, the original, like, the very first, but it's certainly, like, the one that put them on the map.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was a TV special. It wasn't a theater or anything. It was just an animated television special.
That's right.
On NBC in December 6th, 1964.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good times.
Of course, the story had quite a history before that for several decades. I think it was in 1939. It was put out as a little, the poem was put out as a little booklet that was a promotion for some department store or something.
And then the song we all know is 1949, which is Johnny Marks.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. And then they basically took that fairly simple plot in the song, the ballad, and expanded it out to a 50-minute TV show. And
mercifully short. Because I think if they drag this out anymore...
it's just the right length.
Yeah.
And really, it's action-packed. One of the awful things about that Christmas in July thing was how it dragged. But this one, moves pretty snappily from beat to beat and scene to scene, action to action. It's action-packed.
I think part of the reason why it moves so well is it has... Unlike perhaps some of the other ones, the one we're talking about, Christmas in July, right? This one has a very clear, firm, central story, right? Rudolph is the heart of it, and everything is anchored to Rudolph. So Santa's whole ordeal with the fact that there's the big storm that comes and prevents, he can't go, right? Because everybody's grounded. Because, of course, Santa's never had a superstorm before, I guess. The polar vortex came for Santa. That's tied to Rudolph, because that's how Santa is like, oh, Rudolph, you're amazing. Herbie, who wants to be a dentist. Hermie.
I had that wrong too. All so this time for the last 50 years of my life, I thought it was Herbie. It is Hermie.
So sorry. Anyway,
seriously, I felt wrong too when Trish told me, no, it's Hermie. Like, what? No, you're not right.
You're right. Okay, calm down, guys. Good Lord.
I got excited.
My God. Okay. Anyway, the point I was making, Hermie. He sings a song about being a misfit, and then when he meets Rudolph, they sing "We're a couple of misfits," and they become friends. So his misfit status is tied to Rudolph's status, right? All the people that go missing are tied to Rudolph because it's his parents go looking for him, and also like Clarice who like is looking for.
Hello, Clarice.
Yes, I mean she's looking for love, right? The only thing that's not perhaps as directly anchored to Rudolph is, I guess, Yukon Cornelius and the Bumble, but they still are because they need Yukon to help them, and Yukon Cornelius. His whole thing with the Bumble is like he works with Hermie to save Rudolph. So like everything is very tightly bound, which I don't think you can say about like every holiday movie. Sometimes the plots like meander and wander off. It is, as you say, Trish, super action packed, and every major plot point is anchored through the title character Rudolph. It's beautiful.
This is, by the way, the second Rankin Bass production ever done. Earlier that year, they did a production called Return to Oz.
Yeah, that's a scary movie.
Which is basically a retelling of The Wonderful Wizard of Oz.
And terrifying.
I've never seen that animated version, so I don't know how terrifying it is.
It's terrifying.
Okay, I've never seen it. But anyway, so yeah, so so on their second outing, they hit a home run. Grand Slam, I'd say, for the ages. But yeah, I was struck as I was rewatching this how many things I gotten wrong. Like Hermie, not Herbie. I had forgotten Donner was Rudolph's father. Now I want to kind of know. I want a reindeer family tree. Who is Fireball's father? Is it one of the other?
It's Blitzen, obviously.
Why is it obviously Blitzen?
Because the name makes sense.
Blitzen right? To Fireball?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Blitz. I can speed.
You know,
speed.
like the Blitz. I mean, it's a World War II reference. Calm down.
I get it.
It's not really.
So yeah, so I want to. Who is Clarissa's dad? He's just this male reindeer who's an a-hole to Rudolph.
That is a great question. So the 8 reindeer, right, are Dasher, Prancer, Vixen, Comet, Cupid, Donder or Dunder, depending on your pronunciation. Blixen in the original, but we say Blixen. And then there's Rudolph. Is that everybody?
Vixen is one of the others. I think we've gotten 7. Dasher and Dancer and Prancer.
Vixen, Comet and Cupid, Donner and Blitzen.
Okay, right.
Rudolph is number 9. But I know we shouldn't jump to the end of this movie, but I noticed this and I asked Trish to confirm it. Did you notice at the end when Rudolph is doing his great ride, there's only 7 reindeer pulling Santa's sleigh?
Yeah, the Bumble ate the other one.
I mean, it should be 8 plus Rudolph. That's the song and the lead I remember, but there's only 7, so...
Right, so Donner, his dad, watches Rudolph take off with the others. So Donner's not on it. And I wonder if Coach Comet, the jerk,
is the other one
self-excluded himself from the team. Maybe because he doesn't want to run with a nose-glowing reindeer.
Or Santa benched him.
Or maybe Santa benched him, yes.
Maybe. Perhaps Santa benched him.
Well, I mean, Santa starts off as a jerk who rejects Rudolph's nose and right off the side. But I had... Go ahead.
One thing I noticed about this movie that I had wrong about it was that everyone in Christmastown is actually happy to see Rudolph, and they feel bad about how Rudolph was treated, and they're happy to see him before they realize that his nose has any utility for snow navigation.
Yeah, that is the thing I noticed this watch too.
Which is different than the song. Then the song said, "Then how the reindeer loved him after."
Right.
But
after they see that he can use his special nonconformity.
Right. I love that language, his nonconformity.
Nonconformity, which makes me think, oh my God, it's equality audits and things.
I mean, it makes a really good point, I think, about, like, you know, not everything has to fit neatly into a box that people's value... I think it tries to make the idea that people's value isn't... Winston, I swear to God. Stop. Jeez, just come here. No, you want attention. Come here. Come on. No, you don't get to play coy now. I was in the middle of a point that I now have to start over. This is going to be a nightmare to edit. Come here. Yeah, I got you. Okay. Anyway, so I was trying to make a very valid point, and I have to start over. I apologize, everybody. But apparently my cat has decided now is his time. So I think the film tries really hard to do two things, which is one is that it tries to make the point that people's value is not in their conformity, but inherent to them. Everybody has value, and we have to figure out what that, like, why we value that person doesn't have to be based on whether or not they conform to our expectations of them. So, like, Hermie is the great example. Everyone wants him to be a regular elf, which I just want to note, why? There's that freaking tall dork-looking elf, and he doesn't look like any other elf. The main elf
But he's trying hard to conform.
He is trying hard, but, like, the angry coach king elf, who is just basically Harvey Keitel.
The shop boss.
The shop boss, as it were. Yeah. So, like, there's that thing. And maybe that's not made as strongly in the film as perhaps its more serious message of, like, just because someone looks different, you shouldn't treat them like crap. Which I think is the larger point that it perhaps sticks a little bit more firmly by the realization that everybody has that, oh, when Rudolph comes back and he saved everyone, they're like, wow, we're idiots. Like, I'm sorry, I was wrong about everything. You're wonderful. It's worth noting, Clarice, the only reindeer or human or elf other than Hermie, who is like, or Yukon Cornelius, who is perfectly fine. She's like, nah, it's fine. I would be. She was basically writing him right there. She was like, hey, you know, any doe would be lucky to have a guy like you. Ooh, hoo, hoo. Yeah. Except they're like 7. You know, because they're deer. So, like, I guess he grew up in, like, a matter of 13 days. Like, how did that work?
What's the logistics?
I think he was gone for a year or so.
Yeah, he was gone for months because he comes back and says your parents haven't been here for months. They've been looking for you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, months, not years, but still.
But still,
that's a pretty quick growth. How long does it take for a deer to become an adult?
A real reindeer? I don't know.
I don't know. I mean,
either. You shouldn't think about some of the biology in this movie.
Well, that's
don't worry too much about it.
Yeah.
Right. So they were yearlings or more at the get together, meet the other bucks, show off for the does. So they were a year or more old then, and then some months later. So, you know, at most 2 years old, but you know, that's in deer years. So I guess if they're like dog years, he was 14.
Yeah, I mean, he's almost an adult by the end of this. So yeah,
right. And his rite of passage is leading the sleigh. So yeah, he's definitely an adult by the time he comes back. He's gone through his rite of passage, as it were.
Yeah.
I mean, you could even go hero's journey and say that basically he went through his whole hero's journey and now came back from the wastes of an adult reindeer ready to lead and become a leader of community and bring the light. Oh my God! I'm doing power myth.
So he had his Wanderjahr.
Yes, he had his Wander. Well, we see him, Hermie, and they meet Yukon. They run away from the Bumble. They go sailing on the water. They reach the Isle of Misfit Toys. They talk with a cool lion griffin. They get to do all sorts of stuff, and then Rudolph realizes he must return. And he must leave his friends. Like, that's the dark night of the soul. Oh my God. So much to stop before doing more Joseph Campbell, but I'll go for it anyway. So he leaves his friends and goes back by himself, but then realizes that is wrong and he needs to rescue his family. And it's only through the power of teamwork and friendship that he can actually rescue his family.
Oh, and also possibly an unethical use of dentistry.
Yeah, I was saying it's clear that Hermie never took the Hippocratic Oath when he was studying his dentistry book.
I mean, it's at the end, Trish. He hasn't gotten there yet.
What is that book doing in the North Pole to begin with? Where did he get it?
Well, some kid who was on the naughty list, like they weren't sure if he was going to end up on it, and they made him a dentistry book because he wanted to be a dentist, and then it turned out he was naughty, so he got left behind. Yeah. Or it's a misfit toy that never made it to the island. But definitely.
By the way, speaking of misfit toys, I was pretty impressed to realize that Moonracer has the same power as Santa of being able to go all over the world in a single night. But he does it every night, all the time, because he's searching for misfit toys, whereas Santa only goes around the world once a year.
And Santa spends most of the year. Santa spends most of the year. Apparently, he just sheds like 50 pounds of fat at the end of the season, and so he spends the year with his wife hounding him about fattening up.
Yeah, it's very different. There's
a lot of pressure for body conformity in this picture too.
Yeah, it's such an interesting thing where he's just like kind of grumpy getting closer to the season, and she's just like, "Here, eat this food."
Speaking of body,
it's like he's got a Snickers moment where he, says, "I don't like this song. You better go practice it some more," and storms off, out of there.
He is definitely hangry.
And Mrs. Santa runs after him and tries to, eat. So Snickers moment
eat,
there.
Papa, eat, Papa. Oh,
manja,
mama.
manja. Speaking of body conformity.
Yeah.
So, the elves.
No one wants a skinny Santa.
Nobody wants a skinny Santa, no. Did you notice all the male elves are bald except for one? Hermie. Why is
He's
he
blonde.
has the same... What's that?
He's blonde.
He has the same hair as the female elves, which makes you wonder. It makes me wonder if he's actually he may actually not be either non-gender conforming, or maybe he's maybe he's not heterosexual.
Hermes a trans man, maybe.
Maybe. Well,
that's how he has hair.
Well, I mean, look at the evidence. Every other elf we see is bald.
Every other male elf is bald.
Every other male elf we see is bald.
And all the female elves are blonde.
Right. So it makes me wonder.
Well, hold on.
Yeah.
But maybe he's just very young, and all of the bald ones are old, and that until a certain age,
no.
elves are basically like dwarves. They're almost indistinguishable.
Maybe.
Maybe, but I a lot of those elves at that table look pretty young too.
Well, that's because they're elves, Paul.
Elrond,
hold on. Elrond in Lord of the Rings is like 5,000 years old, and he still looks like Hugo Weaving. Like, what are you talking about?
Aside from the hair, they kind of, I mean, old grumpy boss elf definitely looks like an adult, but the other elves are indistinguishable from Herbie except for the hair. So I wonder. I mean, if this truth is that if you're right, and it's just like elves start with, that's a very strange sexual dimorphism that males lose their hair, but female elves don't.
Or maybe
not
they
all that
do.
unusual at all. Mostly,
Maybe...
it's in humans. It's mostly men who go bald.
What if you're assuming all the male elves are male?
That's true.
And they all start.
Because they're color coded for our preference. If you notice, all the male elves wear blue, and all the girl elves wear pink.
Well, maybe they start as girls and then they morph into male. I mean, we know nothing about the biology of Santa's elves. Who knows what they could be aliens for all we know.
That may be. Maybe, but I think the showrunners definitely strongly believed in sexual dimorphism and sexual and gender roles for sure.
100%.
Donner telling Mrs. Donner, who never even has a name, that going out and looking for Rudolph is man's work. So it's very good that Mrs. Donner and Clarice defy this dictum and go out and look themselves.
But here's the question. And also, we see the does watching the male reindeer do their reindeer games. Can does fly?
We don't know.
We don't know. We have no evidence for or against.
But if we're going by this heavy message of man and female being very rigid binaries, the assumption would be that they don't. That only the males do.
Right, in some versions of the legend, the reindeer get their flying power by eating magic corn. And you would think that a female deer would be able to do that just as well as a male deer could. And wouldn't Vixen have been a female deer anyway? Vixen is usually... it's a female... A vixen is a female fox. So you would think Vixen would be a female name for a female reindeer.
But all the reindeer on Santa's sleigh have antlers.
Well,
don't all reindeer have antlers?
That's what I was wondering. Don't reindeer... Oh, hold on. We're looking this
they
up
do.
right now.
Oh my God. Listeners and watchers, yes, we're going to try to find out live about
I'm figuring it out right now.
Sexual dimorphism of reindeer. This is the quality content on Skippy and Petty.
I got this from the Food and Drug Administration, by the way. I don't know why that's the thing that came up first, but
why do they care?
I don't know. Well, I guess because technically you can eat reindeer, I guess. I don't know. Or maybe, is reindeer a controlled substance? Is that what's happening right now?
I mean, we saw reindeer on the menu in Helsinki, Sean.
I did not try it because I can't eat anything that's cute.
I tried the bear, not the reindeer.
I don't. Anyway, but point is that
Wait,
both Allenfield reindeer grow antlers, which means
no. I was with Alex. I was out with Alex and Karina and Zalia. Never mind.
But
you weren't.
But it's worth noting that the male antlers are substantially larger. Up to 51 inches long compared to females' antlers, which can be 20 inches. So. Presumably, there's a point at which you can go, oh, that one's a dude. Although, I guess you could just look between their legs and you could figure that out more quickly. But
yeah, but then I can do that in a Rankin Bass production. But
but also, like, maybe out of respect for Santa's reindeer, you're not just going around going...
But, if Vixen is a female reindeer, hers is an untold story because she is a female reindeer in a male-dominated profession in a very patriarchal dude bro reindeer culture, reindeer and so North Pole culture. What's her story? What is she like? Why did she decide to go for something that no other female reindeer we ever see? I mean, Clear's got spunk that ever considered going for. I want a Vixen story now.
Well,
right.
You know why? Vixen was the first to break the mold, and that's why there was the hard turn back to we have to have conformity. Right, we gotta no, we can't have none of this. Our girls gotta be regular girls and wear bows and crap. I'm making this up. We have no idea.
So maybe Comet is on the 7 reindeer team and Vixen got cut for sexual discrimination.
Possibly.
Oh, okay. Okay. Hermie, you need to not only train as a dentist, you need to train as a lawyer. Vixen needs a lawyer now.
It's weird, so Hermie wants to be a dentist. First off, why don't they have a dentist already? Shouldn't Santa needs one, right? Because he's eaten a metric ton of food, and she's just fattening him up with pie
candy.
And
there's I mean, Christmas Town is short on lots of social services.
Right, and so, have elves for, 150 years just been, chomping on candy and just getting cavities and their teeth rot out of their face, and they're just... Is that why the Harvey Keitel elf is so angry all the time? Because his mouth hurts?
Maybe.
And, well, I mean, he does get care, right? Hermie provides him care at the end, and, I got you, bro. Maybe that's why he's so grumpy, is this whole time... He's just so miserable. He's in pain, and nobody will help him. Not even Santa. The poor man. His teeth are rotted out of his face.
The working conditions at Santa's workshop, they need a union.
They do need a union. Yeah, that's coming next after they get the professions.
Time to organize the labor.
Yeah. Although, the implication at the beginning is that, I guess biologically elves are, in general, evolutionary geared towards liking making toys. That's the explanation we're given. That they basically have evolved and that's what they do. They just make toys, which is why Hermie, he's violating his biology and his elf culture at the same time.
Biology is not destiny, Sean.
Well, in this weird universe where you can have, a cowboy ostrich toy and also an elf that has blonde hair like all the girl elves, but also wants to be a dentist, and Bumbles. I mean, who knows, Paul? Anything's possible at this point. I love you, Cornelius, I just want to say. He's such a ridiculous character.
I mean, he's looking to mine stuff and then winds up mining peppermint. Okay.
Yeah, speaking of that, this is another thing. I don't know if I ever knew about him. Maybe they had cut it by the time I started watching it, or maybe I just didn't notice. I certainly don't think it was in the later years of broadcasting, but he says he finds the peppermint, and he says, "Peppermint, it's what I've been looking for all my life." He is so excited that he's going to have a peppermint mine. And I never knew that. I thought it was all about the silver and gold and,
So did I.
the commodification of Christmas.
No, it's about
capitalism.
the peppermint, Trish.
And here Yukon Cornelius is fighting against the commodification of capitalism of Christmas. Go, Yukon.
They literally have a whole song about it, silver and gold.
Right. But he's rejecting that commodification and that bimetal tyranny that song that presses upon us all.
I mean, it's very strange. I mean, it's fine. He's just trying his best. That's all.
Is he Canadian?
His name's Yukon Cornelius. That's kind of north.
Speaking of which, I know Trish wants to talk about the voice acting.
Right. So, Rankin and Bass, I was reading on, I forget, Wikipedia or IMDb, probably Wikipedia. Anyway, that they chose Canadian voice actors for two reasons. First, of course, cheaper labor. Secondly, apparently Canada continued radio shows, radio dramas, for quite a few years longer than the U.S. did. I guess U.S. switched over to TV a lot faster and just went back to, music and sports and stuff on radio. But Canada kept up with their radio programs for considerably longer, and so they had a big talent pool. BBC continued radio dramas many years after the U.S. dropped radio dramas. So I just thought that was interesting.
I guess if you wanted, sure thing production, right, you would go to essentially the professional voice actors of that era,
Mm-hmm.
And I imagine 1964, they have animation at this point, but I imagine the industry doesn't exist like animation does now, or even like in the 80s. So they go right to the source. These are the people. Like you get Billy May Richards to be Rudolph because Billy May Richards is solid. That you know what you're getting, and you're not going to waste a bunch of money. I presume they didn't want to spend a lot of time on this, and I don't know what the budget was, but it can't have been terribly much.
Burl Ives wasn't in this thing originally. They added him at the last minute because NBC asked the producers to add a name star to the thing to try and get more people to watch the show. And Burl Ives apparently was the biggest guy they could get on short notice to...
kind of perfect.
He's great in it. I love it. And, Burl Ives, I've seen him do some very good work. He's a great, complex villain with a code of honor in a movie called The Big Country, a Western. He's an actor. He's not just a funny fat man who sings. He's not just a cook. He's much more than he is in here, which is mostly what I knew him from growing up.
Oh, interesting.
Speaking of Burl Ives and the Snowman, one thing I noticed on this watch that I not noticed before. He's the narrator. He starts off.
Mm-hmm.
He tells this thing. He keeps it moving, but then like towards the end, he says that he sent Cornelius and Hermie after Rudolph. He specifically, he actually is a character in the story, not just a narrator relaying the events. He was there at the time and
he made something happen. He made
something happen. I did not notice that before. I thought he was just just a narrator, but he actually is he's an active participant in making things happen.
Yeah. So can we talk about the Island of Misfit Toys?
Yes,
absolutely.
We can talk about the island.
Okay, so there are two things that I think we need to talk about. First, we need to talk about that really all the toys on the Island of Misfit Toys are, perfectly fine. Right, the story ultimately acknowledges this. There's a kid who wants a polka dot elephant. But also, that's kind of fun. A polka dot elephant, A cowboy riding an ostrich. That's
cool. I would totally have played with that.
That sounds really fun and quirky. right?
Yeah, I mean, the train with square wheels, that would be a little more difficult to play with. I admit that would be a problem.
I mean, sure, that one is maybe more for practical reasons a little difficult, but you know what? Everyone's got a weird kid, so... Well, I guess not everyone, but someone's got a weird kid.
And what about Dolly? What's wrong with Dolly?
So that's the thing. So this is one of the great mysteries that people have been talking about for probably
decades.
The last... decades, yeah. Really the last 30 years, apparently. And it is that... For all intents and purposes, everything we're shown of Dolly, there's nothing wrong with her, right? Physically, she looks like a regular rag doll. She has all her eyes. She's not missing anything. She's not oddly shaped. None of that. So for a long time, people speculated one of two things. One was that there might have been maybe because she doesn't have a nose, even though that's fairly common for rag dolls. One was that they just needed to have a girl toy because most of the other toys theoretically are for boys, although the polka dot elephant, I guess, could go to anybody, really. But apparently, Arthur Rankin Jr. has actually declared that the reason was she had psychological issues, which is apparently she was clinically depressed. So apparently that's the quote-unquote, I mean, not really official, because the production company has not agreed that that's canon, but that's essentially the reason, is she's clinically depressed. And she does cry in this, although she has totally justified reasons. She thinks she's been left behind again. So,
Yep.
I don't know. But I mean, it is kind of neat. I guess if she is clinically depressed, toys can be depressed too. And that could be why she's misfit. She just needs to go to some kid who wants to be a mental health therapist, I guess. She comes with a copy of the DSM, I guess. I don't know, but yeah, ultimately the story never officially tells us what's her deal.
No, it's a little mystery.
Yeah.
Right. Speaking of the misfit toys, though, I have to point out something. I'm certainly not the first person to do it, but one of the misfit toys suffers a very, very sad fate at the end of this movie. Because if you remember from the part where they're, singing and showing all their misfitness, there is a bird that doesn't fly. It swims. And at the end of this show, when the elves are giving the toys little umbrellas so they can parachute down to the house that they're destined for, the elf pulls out this bird, looks at the umbrella, shrugs, clearly thinking, well, a bird doesn't need an umbrella, and just tosses the bird off the sleigh. The bird that doesn't swim, that only flies.
That bird doesn't fly, it only swims. Yeah.
Oh, God. That's
there's that little dark. Yeah. No, when Trish and I were watching, we watched this in tandem. She said, "Watch the credits. Wait for it. Wait for it." I was like, "Oh my God."
That's horrifying. I didn't notice that, and I don't like it. Look, my headcanon, I'm gonna fix this in my brain right now. Santa has magic, so the bird swam through the air to its location. Okay. That's what happened. But you're not wrong. That's a horrible idea.
Dive bombing. As God is my witness, I thought penguins could fly.
Oh.
Do you not get the reference? Oh my God.
Of course.
Looking at Shaun, you get the reference, right? As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly.
I don't
WKRP in Cincinnati.
Oh my God. Uncultured barbarian.
Thanksgiving episode of WKRP.
The greatest Thanksgiving show of all time.
Okay, Paul was born in 1983.
I know, this was the year before you were born.
I rest my case. So apparently, though, there were multiple slight variations of this production that were released. So I'm actually not sure which one I watched for this episode. I think it was the original 1964, but I don't know. And so there's the 1964 version. This is the quote-unquote NBC Living Color Peacock version, which has that, it shows up at the beginning. So the original apparently does not include that Santa traveling to the island of misfit toys, which is actually the giveaway that I did not watch the original 1964. And then 65 to 97, there's a new duet added that it was not in my version called Fame and Fortune, which replaced the We're a Couple of Misfits. And apparently, people didn't like it. I guess. So
really, I kind of like Fame and Fortune.
I don't remember it. So
fame and fortune, they will be ours someday.
Doesn't Trish have some lovely singing voice friends?
I don't remember any but the first words, but it's a cheery little song where they're teaming up and getting ready to go face the world and be misfits together.
It's very strange when you look at, they add something in, they delete something, they provide added dialogue, I guess, in the 70s, and then more modernly they've kept most of the stuff that was deleted and largely since about 2019 tried to maintain the definitive version as it were. Which has We're a Couple of Misfits. It has the Peppermint Mine sequence. It has some added stuff in there. My version did not have Fame and Fortune, which I thought was interesting. But apparently on the DVDs, it's included as an extra number, so you can get that. So it's very weird. And I didn't realize until earlier today that there were so many freaking variations of this thing.
Yeah.
Which means if you watch this as a child in 1965, you might have the experience I've had with certain films I watched when I was a child, like Fantasia, where for years, I swear, someone kept getting different versions of Fantasia with Disney's added sequences, because every time I'd watch it, I would see things and I was like, I don't remember that in the last time I watched it. And the movie kept getting longer for some reason. I was like, why is this movie 2.5 hours long? Where the heck is all this added stuff coming from? And apparently it's just, as a child, your memory is garbage. So,
Oh, my experience with Rudolph was that things kept vanishing from the show because, of course, they kept cutting it to make room for more commercials.
Yep.
Jerks.
Yes.
Yeah, jerks.
Sadly and tragically, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, this is pretty tightly
my
paced.
never seeing the peppermint scene.
Yeah. It's pretty tightly paced for a more classic commercial structure, which isn't really how typical. You can see as you watch this the moments where this is the commercial break, and they're at really perfect times.
The original
a number
commercial
has
breaks
ended.
anyway.
Yeah, the original commercial breaks, right? They end at the number has stopped, the musical number, or a major moment has happened and we end on a cliffhanger because we're going to come back to it in the next one. So this is I think sometimes, I don't think there's anyone terribly young watching us at the moment or listening to us, but I think sometimes that's lost, that television in its classical form, they used to make TV very rudimentary to where you stuck your commercial breaks. And before we got to where we are now, where everything has to have 6,000 commercial breaks, and then there's a DraftKings reference at some point in there where they want you to gamble. That was you had an hour slot, and you had 45 minutes and or 48 minutes and 12 minutes or whatever for commercial, and they had to break at certain points, so you would build your narrative to follow that flow.
Yep.
That still technically is happening, but it's just a little bit different, and now we're not seeing it in streaming services because they don't typically have commercials built in.
Although that seems to be...
Oh, we have a reaction from chat. Carturo is saying they once watched The Matrix Reloaded on TV and they cut the entire dance scene.
Oh.
Now, I actually have never seen The Matrix Reloaded in any form. But I did recently watch The Marvels. This is my first movie I've seen on the big screen since the pandemic. It got terrible reviews and I knew nobody was going it. And I went to the first showing, and lo and behold, there were only 3 other people in the entire theater besides us. So I felt, I was masked, of course, and I felt reasonably safe. Anyway, there are some songs and a dance sequence, a delightful song and dance sequence on a planet where people sing and dance about everything. And I read later that that sequence had originally been 20 minutes and that it got cut because people were nervous about the reaction they would get from the studio audiences. But it bombed anyway, so they should have kept it.
I mean, on the one hand, I'm kind of curious, but on the other, like, it's a non-musical dance movie, and you had a 20-minute sequence in a movie that probably was already 2 hours long. Wow.
I hope to see it someday.
It would be nice if it was an extra on the DVD or something.
Like an extended cut.
Do DVDs do extras anymore?
They do,
Sometimes.
yeah. They'll put, like, the cut scenes and things like that, but, yeah.
Exactly, Carturo. Why would Marvel actually take a risk and do something interesting? Yeah.
They don't do
I know you had a very different view of the Marvels than Trish did, and a negative one, and I'm sad that this dance sequence got cut because it sounds like it was might have been really interesting.
I mean, a musical Marvel movie would not be, like, I kind of watch that. It'd be different. I don't know who it would be with, but, you know, something like a 50-minute, you know, like, musical Marvel musical special that they do, like this.
I mean, if Star Trek can do a musical episode, so can the Marvels.
I mean, just get, you know, some, like, really good musical writers, have Hugh Jackman show up as Wolverine. Like, come on.
Yeah,
I mean, he would do it if they were like.
Of course he'd do it.
Would you do a musical Wolverine? Oh my god, I'd watch an entire musical Wolverine.
Oh my god! I mean, he's basically fusing Broadway and his Wolverine career into one package.
I don't want like a
Hugh
whole
Jackman,
movie
call
production.
your office.
I just want a special. That's all I want. I want a Wolverine musical special. You know, like
or
that'd
Spider-Punk.
be just fun. A Spider-Punk would be fun, but in any case,
yes.
we're spinning wheels away from the film, and so I think we can
all
start to wrap.
Right.
No, we can start to wrap. I think we've said it. This is a wonderful film it's imperfect but wonderful, and I think we all agree.
Yes.
So I think
one last thing I want to note.
Okay.
Before I actually saw this film growing up, I actually saw the Remington shaver commercials. Do you remember those, Trish?
I know it's a automatic shaver. Yeah.
Right, and they had this they had this guy on this shaver in the snow and was clearly referencing Burl Ives and Rudolph. So after I saw that before that, they're like, "Oh, it's like the shaver." I remember growing up. No, but clearly the shaver was actually aping Burl Ives and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. But I saw the commercials first.
That's wonderful. I don't remember when I first saw this movie.
That was before your time, Shaun. That was before your time.
Paul, 99% of your life is before my time. You were before.
Well, he is a couple thousand years old, right?
Right. Doesn't like to talk about it, but that is past.
We should thank Configuration Queen for following the stream.
I do appreciate that very much. Yeah, that is lovely. You get 7,000 points, by the way. So, okay. Well, look, I think we can begin to wrap this up now. So, for folks listening and folks that have been hanging out with us on Twitch, thank you very much. I hope this has been entertaining and you learned a few things about this movie because we all shared some weird facts about this film and things around it. So, if you would like, you can go to skiffyandfanty.com/listener suggestions. That's where you can send your comments and feedback. If you like this movie, we'd love to hear from you and what your thoughts are on it. Please do. If you want to follow the show, the best places to do so are basically any place that isn't Twitter. And we're at Skiffy and Fanty basically everywhere. And you can find links to all of our stuff, including Instagram, Mastodon, etc., at our link tree, linktr.ee/skiffyandfanty. We have a newsletter, all that good stuff. And then if you do like what we do, please consider supporting the show. It's patreon.com/skiffyandfanty and leave reviews. Please do leave reviews and tell your friends that we exist because we're sad. And then we stream our live shows on Twitch at twitch.tv/alphabetstreams, which is where I am. I am at ShaunDuke.net. I'm here on Alphabet Streams. I also have Patreon and all that stuff. My link tree is just /Shaun Duke.
I am Paul Weimer, aka Prince Justin Olive in the internet. primarily Blue Sky, Mastodons, and Threads. I write reviews and essays on science fiction. I play games online with Shaun. I mod channels on Twitch. I do lots of photography and plenty more. My name is Legion, for I am many.
Excellent.
You can find me, Trisha M, on Blue Sky as @PE Matson, on Mastodon, and newsy.social @TrishaM, and on my blog at whatsthewordnow.blogspot.com. And if you have unresolved anger issues over this show and how badly Rudolph is treated for 90% of the movie, and non-conformity in general, you might want to look up the Mad TV skit called Ragin' Rudolph. But be aware, it's very violent.
Fantastic. All right, folks. So thank you very much for listening. Everybody take care of yourselves. Be safe. Don't do anything weird. And definitely don't judge people by the way they look. Just be nice to people. This is not awkward.
That's right.
It's a good holiday message. Be kind. Love one another. All that good stuff. No awkward ending. And see.
Hugs for everyone.
Hugs for everyone. I like it. Yeah.